All right, good afternoon, everyone. I am Amy Dickerson.
I'm Kendra Yoch.
And welcome to the 11th webinar in our Forensic Educational Equity Series. Kendra and I continue to be your moderators for this monthly series that has been running throughout the year. During this series, we have been exploring how school districts can identify and break down systemic barriers that are depriving students of equitable educational opportunities, how to more intentionally allocate resources based on need, and use the law as a driver for internal reforms to support our most vulnerable student populations. These conversations may not always be comfortable, but they are critical to helping make meaningful and positive changes in our public school systems. Today, we will be discussing ways that schools can support students in exploring and securing post-secondary options and in taking steps to reach their college and career goals in ways that are inclusive and equity-driven. We are delighted to welcome Aide Acosta, Chief College Officer at Noble Network of Charter Schools, and Candace Kyles, Senior Director of the College Graduation Office at the University of Chicago Charter School. We will discuss school strategies for preparing students for success after high school and supporting students in building foundations and connections to expand opportunities. Our panelists will also talk about the support that they provide to alumni to increase student perseverance through college and to family sustaining employment. So welcome to you both, and thank you for joining us. To everyone listening, we are so happy that you are here today as well. Please submit your questions through the Q&A function on Zoom. It is much easier for us to keep track of and answer questions there than in the chat. And if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to contact any of us. So with that, let's get started. So first, to get some background, why don't we begin our discussion by having our panelists tell us briefly about the schools that you currently serve. So Aide, would you like to go first?
Hi, welcome everyone. Such a pleasure to be here today during this lunch hour. So as Amy mentioned, I am Aide Acosta, the Chief College Officer for Noble. And Noble schools are a network of public charter schools with 18 schools in Chicago, 17 high schools, and 1 middle school. So we serve approximately 12,600 students across all zip codes in Chicago. 98% of our students are Black Latinx, about half and half, and 87% of our students are on free or reduced lunch. 84% of our students are first generation college students, and our biggest stakeholder group is our alumni at over 20,000 now in this year. And just to give you a glimpse of our vision at Noble, our vision is to ensure that all our students have an equitable and positive school experience that will equip them to complete college and choice-filled lives. I'll pass it on to Candace.
Thank you, Aide. Hi, everyone. I'm Candace Kyles, Senior Director of the College Graduation Office at the University of Chicago Charter School Woodlawn campus. So we are also a public charter school with 3 different campuses on the city's south side of 2 elementary campuses that service pre-K through 5th grade. And then our Woodlawn campus, where I'm located, services, we have a middle school and a high school, so 6th through 12th grade. Our student population resides primarily on the south side of Chicago. We are 98% African-American, 82% free reduced lunch. We are a much smaller student body than Noble. We have approximately 377 students in our high school right now, and a little over around 850 alumni in our network. We started, our first graduating class was in 2010, so we've had 12 classes since then. And the motto of UChicago Charter, the mission, is to prepare 100% of our students for college graduation, not just high school graduation, but really making sure that persistence and college graduation is what our students are aiming for.
Great, thank you both. So we understand that both of your schools, both Noble and the University of Chicago Charter School, have really dedicated departments and whole teams for this purpose of supporting students post-high school. Can you kind of lay out the framework or the infrastructure of what that setup looks like, kind of who's on that staff and how they work to support students in their post-secondary goals? Candace, you want to start us on that one?
Sure. So our college graduation office is a small but mighty team. We do service all 9th through 12th grade students in some capacity, some form, with our main focus being our seniors. We have myself, the senior director, really just overseeing the work and the vision of the college graduation office and developing partnerships and doing the things like fundraising and development. But we also have our director of college counseling who oversees the vision of counseling and what that looks like, and really plans us, charts our course for the year yearly. It sets those goals for college counseling, college metrics and goals that we have. We have a college advisor who is a recent college graduate, graduate from the University of Chicago through the Chicago Advising Corps. So every 2 years, we have a new person come on our team. We then have a director of alumni affairs and support, and this person is tasked with supporting all of our alums from our most recent grads to our graduates from the class of 2010. We have a college and career coach whose focus, as we may talk about this more, but as we start to think about many of our students are deciding to take alternative pathways and maybe start a career, do a work program. We have someone who's dedicated to providing supports to those students who may not decide to go to college on our team as well. And then we have 2 teachers who do our senior seminar and our One Goal curriculum. So they're in charge of making sure that they're in the classroom with the students daily and they're doing either their own individualized senior seminar curriculum or what One Goal has created for us. I'll pass it back to Aide.
Sure, thank you, Candace. So we are, again, because the scope for us is broader with, serving 17 high schools and still providing support for our middle school. So with that context, we have a team of about 120 staff members across all of our schools, including the Noble support team. So about 100 of those are school-based staff. So most are college counselors and or instructional college seminar staff members as well. And each campus has a dean of college leading their college counseling team. So they're the ones that are setting the goals, setting the expectations for the year for their team in collaboration and partnership with my team. Each campus has at least one alumni counselor to support their campus alumni. And at the support team, I lead a team of about 24 staff members to support the following programs. So college counseling, so all the work that really is the senior year in particular, and helping like our tools, our coaching, our guidance to help students from building lists to FAFSA to eventually making a decision in the spring. It also includes programming on pre-college and career exploration, and this also includes our signature program, Summer of a Lifetime, that is intended to provide an opportunity, a college experience for our rising juniors. We have a Dreamer Supports program to support our undocumented students. As I mentioned, we do serve approximately 50% of our students are Latinx, and to be clear, it doesn't mean that only Latinx students are undocumented. It could be also, it also includes some of our Southside campuses, but predominantly it is in our regions where we have high Latinx populations. So we ensure that we support all of our students. And then on the other end, we have our alumni supports teams, and that supports through college matriculation, ensuring that students actually matriculated, retention, persistence, and graduation, and our alumni careers team. So all that to say is that collectively, this team leads a strategy of to and through college and careers at Noble. And with the philosophy that we are, the vision, right, that we are college prep on the one hand, because our families overwhelmingly choose Noble for the prospect of college for their child. And secondly, because we see college as the most sustainable and predictable path for choice-filled lives for Black and Brown children. So I'm happy to dig in a little bit more, hopefully in the Q&A, or if folks want a little bit more of the detail, because that's just the broader scope.
That is great. It's really amazing to hear just the dedicated staff that you guys have to making sure that students are supported in these ways. And it's a big undertaking. As we talk about this, I think I would sort of break it down into 3 different sections, and you'd let me know if this makes sense to you. But I would sort of say, you know, what high school content is preparing students for college or other post-secondary opportunities, you know, their coursework, what does that piece of it look like? And then there's sort of this like transitional piece of identifying what's the right opportunity, where should I apply, what financial aid do I need, this sort of decision-making piece. And then the third stage is actually supporting students when they're not technically your students anymore, when they're alumni, which I think is a little bit unique and not something that we always see. So if you guys can talk a little bit about, you know, in each of those 3 stages, the sort of traditional high school, the transition and application, and then the actual, when you're out there in the real world, providing, you know, what kind of support you guys have for your alumni there. Ida, do you want to start us off on that?
Sure, and that, you know, I think that's a great question, just that thinking about it in a 3-prong approach. So for us at Noble, like, I think it's imperative in terms of like advancing our vision, that we're building the ecosystem to ensure that every child believes in their ability to succeed, right? And that we also hold their highest aspirations and support them through what they're saying are their goals, their aspirations long term. So academically, you know, of course, we provide rigorous coursework and SAT prep when it was, I mean, right now it's a little bit, test optional world, but yet, you know, we also know that standardized testing is not irrelevant. We actually saw a dip in some of our enrollment because even though students had access, they didn't have some of the grants that traditionally our students got, for example. So that is still important as part of our preparation. And in grades 9 through 11, we provide information sessions for our families. That's really important, right? So not only what we're illustrating for children in the classroom, but how we're engaging families. So we're very intentional, just involving families and making sure that they have all the resources and information possible. And we provide additional resources for pre-college and career exploration opportunities. That's actually a role that I opened up this year, just ensuring that all of our students have equitable experiences. As you heard me say at the onset of this conversation, that's part of our goal at Noble. So it's not enough to say one school is having incredible opportunities where another one of our schools, perhaps a child never sets foot in a college, for example. So we want to make sure that all of our students have similar or equitable experiences. Part of this is, as I mentioned, is also our Summer of a Lifetime program. So this is a program that provides college experiences. So over the summer, our students have the opportunity to go to a college and be there for maybe a week, 2 weeks on average. And it is a transformative experience as they see themselves being able to explore our college campus. And this is an opportunity for rising juniors. Some of our schools also provide internship opportunities, in particular, ITW Spear actually has internship for senior year. All their seniors take an internship, so that's a unique for that school in particular, but an important experience to note. Now, For college counseling, of course, the bedrock at Noble is the college seminar during a senior year. So all of our students take the seminar and have a dedicated counselor. So on average, our caseload are about 50 students per counselor. And they also have, instructional counselors that are taking them through lessons plans. Again, we just finished all our November 1st deadlines and building lists and so on, for example. So it's all the application process as well as guiding students and their families to make decisions at least an informed decision on a post-secondary plan after Noble. So that's really the intention of our seminar. And I do want to underscore that, even though the focus for us is college prep, again, because that's our commitment to our families, but that's not at the expense of the student experience, nor do we leave our other students behind. So making sure all our students are supported through their decisions. Now, at the alumni level, each of our campuses has a dedicated staff to support our alumni through, coaching from everything and anything in college. And I would say that this was particularly important at the onset of the pandemic, when, as you all know, colleges closed down without a real plan to support students that perhaps didn't have the resources, right, to return home and be college students, right, whether from Wi-Fi to equipment to where do they store their items, right, as they were being told to leave the campus. So our ACs were instrumental in helping our alums through that process, in particular at a very challenging year. And of course, that is ongoing as we continue, as our students continue to navigate the current realities of a global pandemic and balancing life and being college students. So for our ACs, we particularly focus on first-year retention, and because we know that the probabilities of graduating are higher when a student stays in the same college. Now, that said, under the current reality, we need to think about the sophomore year essentially as the first year as well. So really providing dedicated supports for those towards retention, those first 2 years. And then our alumni careers team is who is situated within the support team, support students then as juniors and seniors by providing career guidance from resume building to internships and career placement as well. And our career teams is also supporting students not in college, either if they're recent graduates or later on in the pipeline, but to ensure that they secure ambitious pathways that will lead to family sustaining wages. And lastly, what I would mention in responding to this this three-pronged approach is that, as I mentioned in the last question, we also have a robust program of support for undocumented students. So that includes making sure that our college counselors are advising students adequately, right? Because it's a different approach, and that we are also supporting students in college because again, they're also having to navigate, the legal aspects, right, of what their status means along with balancing life. And just to give you a data point, we did have, sorry about that, a couple of years ago, we did establish a scholarship to support undocumented students. This was, that began with the class of 2015. So while we've been college prep and we've been telling kids, that college could be a reality, before 2015, only a quarter of undocumented students were attending college. With the scholarship, we were able to really turn that script and have, actually turn that into 75% of our students enrolling in a four-year college. That was with the generous support of a scholarship that we've had. And now we don't have that, but we partner with colleges and we partner with the Dream.us, for example, to make sure that our students are taking advantage of all opportunities possible. So I said a lot. So Candace, I'll turn it over to you.
There's a lot of great work happening at Noble. It's so exciting to hear everything that I thought I knew, but I didn't know. So it's very exciting to hear. At UChicago Charter, so we believe that college prep starts kindergarten, really. And so we're fortunate enough to be a superhighway in that we have students, a lot of our students start with us in elementary school and continue on with us through high school. So we're able to create a culture, a college going culture early on, where our students know that the mission and the goal for themselves is college graduation. And so that starts early on, going into classrooms, over to our elementary classrooms, and just asking students, do they know what college is? Asking kindergartners, what do you see for yourself future? What colleges have you heard of? But a lot of the work, the legwork starts with our middle school, with our 6th through 8th graders, excuse me. So they go on college tours. They were supposed to do an overnight tour at the end of October, but unfortunately, because of COVID problems, they weren't able to do that, but they were able to do local college tours. And so we believe that just exposing students to colleges, even if it's going to University of Chicago, which is 3 minutes away, or visiting Urbana-Champaign and visiting U of I, like just having the exposure and the opportunity to see yourself on a college campus and know that this is something I can do, is where we start the college prep. And so although a lot of our students are excited to attend the University of Chicago Charter School, when we say, hey, do you know about the University of Chicago? Oftentimes it's like, nope. But never thought to step foot on that campus. And so through these college tours and just going into classrooms and having students just talk about their dreams and desires, we start that pretty early on. Heading into 9th grade, we utilize Naviance a great deal at UChicago Charter. And so we have students take career and college assessments just to have a starting point for conversations with them about what they see for themselves in the future. Being small is a privilege in some ways, because we are able to offer, we like to say internally, we offer private boutique counseling at a charter school. So we're able to have those conversations with them and really get to know them, starting their 9th grade year through Naviance, and just pullouts in classrooms. If there's a student we see in the hallway, we have no problem going up and starting a conversation with them. We are growing our AP courses. We currently have 6 AP courses. We have 4 dual credit classes. So those classes are taught by our teachers in the school during the school day, and it allows our students to get college credit. So that's a great way for them to, helps on the payment side of things, the financial aid side of things, when you're able to take either dual credit or dual enrollment while you're still a high school student, and it gets them excited to know that they can do the work. So that's offered primarily for our juniors and our seniors. We have something called Summer Launch that we started a couple of years ago. Thanks to the great work at Noble, where we offer our 9th through 11th grade students the opportunity to find an internship or to find a college campus that are offering summer opportunities. And we have the funding available to pay for travel, or if there is a scholarship, a fee associated with attending, for example, Albion College's Camp Med, then we can put forward that fee or develop a partnership with colleges like Albion and say, hey, we have some students who are really interested in this program. So 9th through 11th graders are able to participate in summer launch. We've been doing that for about 2 years now, I believe. And then heading into the counseling side of things. Oh, I will say another college prep opportunity we have, grateful for the University of Chicago, their law school and their Crown Family School of Social Work. We've had the privilege of having about 10 of our students participate in those master level classes. And so we've partnered with professors at both schools, and students are able to take classes with master level students and really understand what it's like to not just being a college student, but after college, what graduate school could be like for them. So that's another college prep program. When it comes to college counseling, the meat and potatoes of our work, we just continue the exposure we've started earlier on. So We make it a goal to do both fall and college tours. We were able to do a fall tour a couple weeks ago where we headed to Michigan and Ohio. For our juniors and seniors, we do an annual college invasion tour where we head somewhere way outside of Chicago and we take 9th through 11th graders on that excursion. Our last tour was to Atlanta and we visit Emory and Spelman, Morehouse, Clark Atlanta. So students are given that opportunity to see themselves outside of Chicago as well, because that's also a hurdle, is being able to know that you can go anywhere. You're not bound to the city of Chicago. So that's one opportunity. We are very big on AOVs, admission officer visits. So those are free. And admissions officers love to visit high school campuses. So that's a great way for us to get those colleges in front of students. And we usually try to get colleges that our students are not on students' radar, but we know those schools will provide the best financial aid. We know that the #1 reason Black students in particular don't graduate from college is because of financial aid. And so we spend a lot of time on the financial aid side of things. And so when we're bringing in admissions officers, we have sometimes very tough conversations about who we will let in the door, who we'll put in front of our students, and who will do right by our students. And so admissions officer visits play a big part in that as well. FAFSA workshops that we do, October 1st, the FAFSA opens up. So October 1st, that night, we have a family workshop where our director of college counseling goes line by line through the FAFSA on Zoom and just walks families through. And then we have 2 or 3 more sessions as a follow-up, so families can work on that with a counselor one-on-one. And then our senior seminar, similar to what Aide was saying, we have our senior seminar class that's a daily class for our seniors to work on FAFSA, personal statement, creating their college list, meeting with their college counselor. And then second semester of senior year, it transitions from senior seminar to college transition seminar. So the focus of college transition seminar is to have our students start to see themselves as college students. And so college transition seminar is a course set up similar to a college classroom. So instead of it being a teacher, they're called a facilitator. It's the same teacher. It's just now we're moving into facilitation, set up in a circle in classrooms to hopefully allow students to feel more comfortable and just speaking up, just trying to prepare them for that transition into college. And so we have conversations about code switching. A majority of our students, not a majority, but a large percentage do go to PWIs. And so they're nervous about fitting in and what that looks like, and about imposter syndrome. So we have conversations about all those things, about microaggressions. That's a huge conversation that we have, financial aid, roommate situations. And so this course is dedicated to getting them prepared for those hard conversations, but also just giving them resources. So they have to do a scavenger hunt and they have to choose the college that they really want to go to, and they have to find the Office of Admissions, they have to find financial aid office, the address and the telephone number and the director of all of those places on campus that they will need to know. And then senior exit meetings is the final step before graduation. Every senior, it is a graduation requirement at UChicago Charter that every senior meets with one of their counselors, and a family member has to be present. And during this conversation, we talk through the students' top 3 schools. This generally happens in April and May. Students may know where they're going. They may have made the deposit. They may not. And so this conversation really opens the door to talk honestly about not only match, but fit, to talk candidly with families about financial aid. Students are expected to have their financial aid letters during these meetings, and we whip out the IIAC comparison worksheet, and we talk through grants and scholarships and just everything that's a part of being a student. Health insurance, a lot of families don't know that if you don't have health insurance, then you have to be on the college's health insurance, and waiving that. So we have the senior exit meetings that are led by our Director of Alumni Affairs is really a way for families to know, okay, this is what I'm working with, and I have about 3 months, maybe less, to really get this together. And then summer melt work. That is where our Director of Alumni Affairs takes off in supporting our alums. Summer melt is a time where we see a lot of students who had the dreams of going to college decide, you know what, for whatever reason, maybe they started a job or finances aren't working out the way they thought. That's their time to really make sure they have all their ducks in a row. And then our Director of Alumni Affairs, she just started, so God bless her. But I was in that role a couple months ago. And so a lot of that role is just supporting, similar to what Aide says, really just supporting the student. We do focus on the first 2 years. When we report persistence numbers, we report on the first 2 years. And so making sure that our students are set up for success. We do provide professional development opportunities to our alums. Our oldest alums are 30, and so we know they have different needs. And so we have job fairs, we have resume critique nights, we have just different opportunities to keep them engaged in an alumni board that they own and that they're supposed to be running, to help them kind of set the course and chart the course for what they think our younger alumni and our younger students need. And then finally, we do have an emergency and scholarship funds that allow for our students to stay enrolled, our alumni to stay enrolled in school or whatever program they're doing. So thanks to generous funders, we have funds set aside, emergency funds set aside for those students who are enrolled or doing a program, and then for whatever reason they're headed back to campus and their car breaks down and they need to get it to a mechanic. Here's $600 to make sure you make it back on campus. So we don't want finances to ever be a barrier for our students, because we know that is the number one reason, and we just want to make sure that we're trying to alleviate all kind of excuses. I won't call them excuses, but any kind of barriers that come up that can make it hard to persist.
Thank you both so much for going through all of the different supports. I mean, the comprehensive supports that each of your schools are providing, and the way in which you're doing so is just so incredible. And a lot to discuss within there. And so, maybe to start and digging a little deeper, you provided such amazing examples of how you're really doing this work. One question we wanted to hear a little, issue we want to hear a little bit more about is with regard to supports for your first generation students, and any particular strategies that you're utilizing for those students who may be first in their family to go to college or to complete college. And if there are strategies that you're utilizing, especially to, set the culture and expectations of college, or demystifying any assumptions or expectations. And, while you're talking through that, maybe if you can also, I see a question from the chat that also asked, a bit more about how you're preparing students then for actual matriculation, considering those social economic issues, some things you touched on already. But if you each could speak a little bit more to that, that would be great. And Candace, if you'd like to start, if you've caught your breath yet from going through all of the great supports that you're offering.
Yeah, so our first generation population, it stands at about 50%. And so a lot of the lens that we look through, and it's making me think, it has not traditionally been looking at first generation students. It's very much a platform in which we know that all of our students need the information, that things in the higher education change every day. Literally what I did to enroll in college 10, 20, a few years ago is much different than what it is for our students today and for their families. And so when we work with our students, we have the mindset that, okay, we're starting from scratch, or we're starting at the same point with everyone. So all the information we give, it may seem like a lot for families, but we're going to give you more because we know it's needed at some point. So we do have a CGO newsletter that goes out, a college graduation office newsletter that goes out on a monthly basis that walks through every single step of the process. So we have a sheet of senior milestones that we hand out to families during the summer of their senior year before they transition into senior year. And during this family workshop, which is mandatory, we walk through every step, every milestone for families. And that's from creating a college list and understanding what overmatch, match, and undermatch is, to understanding that the FAFSA is free. And if someone asks you to pay for it, that is not the website you should be on, to what grants mean versus scholarship versus loans. And so we like to provide everyone with the same information. Now, when we do have families and students who we're pretty much a small family. So when we do have students who do come to us and say, hey, mom and dad, mom has associates or didn't finish her associates, dad finished high school, I need additional support. Then we set up family meetings pretty early on, because what I have found, especially on the alumni side of things, is if I don't get my families involved as soon as I have any kind of indication that something may go awry or there may be a miscommunication, that's when I bring families into the mix. And so we have those one-on-one family meetings to really say, okay, these are the dreams and aspirations your student has. What are yours for your student? And how can we support your student, knowing that your dreams may be different from theirs, and theirs are college, and you may not feel as though you have all the information you need to support them, but we're here. And so many times our families don't even know we exist until senior year. So we're working to make sure that we're having those conversations early on and making sure families feel supported. Does that answer the question? I know you mentioned there was a part 2, but I'll let Aide go for it. Go first.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Candace. Of course, there's a lot of similarities in terms of the programs that we also offer. Our first generation student population is a little bigger, as I mentioned at the beginning. 84% of our students are first generation college goers. So in addition to a lot of the strategies that Candace already mentioned, we are very intentional in the information to parents, right, and families, and also like ensuring that during our family meetings, right, that there is an informed perspective during senior year, so that it's because we don't see it as just like an individual student's decision, but it's a family decision, and parents, families, caregivers are key levers for students to actually retain and graduate and be successful, right, in their in college and eventually graduate. So it's imperative that everybody is equipped with the information to support the student. It is a holistic approach, for our students, we provide curriculum that addresses the topics, particularly at second semester of senior year, but earlier on in our advisory, some of these topics are also tackled, and to really, address the topics and barriers that exist for first generation students of color in particular, and that, is from imposter syndrome to racial microaggressions. And this support continues through our with our alumni, through our alumni supports team. And I want to emphasize something that Candace mentioned in the last question, like the importance of having lessons on code switching. Like that is so imperative, right? How our students expose earlier on to what it means to be their authentic self, but the ability, to also navigate different spaces of power. Like that's really important versus messaging like you must assimilate to be successful. Because I think there's a generation and cohort of maybe professionals, now professionals of color, right? That we, you know, that it wasn't including myself. It's like, you know, kind of came off the school where it's like, you have to assimilate. And then it's like, yeah, no, that's not happening. So ensuring that, that children know, right, that they can be their authentic selves, but that doesn't mean that there won't be barriers. Like we also have a responsibility, you know, to ensure that they have the skills, that they have the information necessary to navigate those spaces, and not just as students of color. I think I appreciate the question about, you know, how do you navigate these spaces that can also be very wealthy, right? So that while the students that we serve may be, you know, particularly in the different communities in Chicago, you know, have a particular type of lifestyle that is so like contrary to what they will be exposed in others, you know, institutions in the East Coast or outside of Chicago, and even within the context of Chicago. So it's imperative to also have those honest conversations and equip them on how to navigate them. Again, I think the key there is about code switching, right? And remaining true to their authentic selves. Some of our schools have done other strategies as well. So I think about like you know, our school Musician College Prep, where they have experiences, like for example, they used to do a senior ski trip. I don't know if that's going to be pick up again, because of course the pandemic changed everything, but to expose our students to different experiences. And again, as I mentioned, and you know, Candace, you also mentioned your summer program, that like our program, Summer of a Lifetime, is an opportunity to start building that exposure for first generation students and start guiding and coaching students, right, with the coping mechanisms on how to navigate these spaces. So it has to be an ongoing approach, but it also has to be honest and transparent without you know, without using old tropes of assimilation. So I think that's part of it, but happy to dig in more as folks have other questions.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm glad you guys both elaborated on that. I think that's such an important issue that we have to address. Additionally, you guys have both touched on, you know, the mission of each of your schools is really going to college, completing college. You know, I pulled up both of your websites last night as I was getting ready, and it's like right there in front of you. That's the front and center thing, is our goal is college. But you guys have also touched on, you know, some students might have a different path in mind, and, you know, is there a tension, and how do you kind of support students on finding the right path for them, you know, without diluting your expectations, but making sure that you're providing individualized support and guiding students to, you know, where they're going to be successful. Aide, do you want to start on that one?
Sure, that's a big one. I first want to start like thinking about the purpose of, you know, schools like ours, right? Like charter schools as an intervention. And I'm going to step back a little bit so that I can give you the context, like my philosophy, right, in particular, and like how I'm leading this work, because I think it's imperative. So I grew up in California as an undergraduate at the University of California. I remember being exposed to this flow chart that, you know, talked about the educational pipeline for Chicano students, or really similar to Latino students as a whole, and students of color more broadly. And it was, you know, it was just eye-opening, the lack of the pathway, the narrow pathway that exists for students from underserved communities. And even till this day, right, students from the lower socioeconomic strata are, you know, at the lowest end for degree holders, right? So socioeconomic matters, whether or not like students actually are able to go through that very narrow pipeline. So only 12% of students nationwide currently receive bachelor's degree. I want to hold on to that because that's very similar to the students that we serve, right? And as I stated at the beginning, our mission, you know, is to create positive multi-generational change through college, and also support our students, you know, in whatever decisions they make. But I do believe that we have a responsibility to ensure that a student and their family are making an informed choice. And I would add that we also need to be careful in the ways in which current narratives, you hear it all the time, what about the trades? What about, you know, this other pathway? So all these narratives are about no college options that are very frequently misinformed, right? It isn't a wide lane. Like, it has to be like informed in terms of what we are saying. It's based on representational biases. For example, I know one alum that didn't go to college and is a successful entrepreneur. That is true, but that's not true for the majority of our alums. And more, I think, danger is that there is a revival of racial and gendered tropes. So I ask always back, who are the children that are being told then, as we hear narratives like college is not relevant, or, and that's actually not enough information for that assertion, but that's a narrative that we're hearing. Who are being told that? Who are the children that are being told that narrative? And who are the ones that are being told to be doctors, to be policymakers? So why is it, right, that Black and brown children are being told to be welders? And that's a fine career option if that's what they choose. But while other children in more affluent communities are going to be told to aspire to be anything they want to be president. And what we're trying to do is to ensure that we believe in every single one of our students, and that they believe in themselves, right? That they develop the skills and the sense of identity to know that they can achieve it should they choose to. So we're not saying, you have to do X, but we are providing the skill sets for you to have a choice. And I think there's a misinterpretation in our current reality of like, well, choice means you just let people have choice, right? But if we say choice for your lives, it means that you need to have the systems in place to actually have those choices. So it is a tension that needs to be acknowledged, but I also think it's imperative that we start also dismantling these broader narratives that are going to be harmful to the children that we're serving, particularly at a time of crisis as we are experiencing in the present. So Candace, as you can hear, I am very passionate about this, pass it on to what you'd like to add.
I may be emailing. This is a continued conversation. This is one of my areas of passion. At UChicago Charter, I say that we are unapologetically college. Like, I understand everyone has their own pathway, and that is okay. But we know historically through data that this is the way, college is the way for our student population, for our Black and brown babies, to get to a place that their white peers don't have as much barriers or don't have as much standing in the way. And it's not a conversation for them. If we were to go to the University of Chicago Laboratory School across the Midway, this would not be a conversation. It wouldn't be a what pathway are you choosing, right? It wouldn't look the same way. And the opportunities gap year is a big one, right? A lot of our students are like, well, I have peers, or I know Obama did a gap year, right? But we have to dive a little deeper about what does that look like? What supports do those students have in place? What systems have already been set up for them to succeed if they take advantage of an opportunity like that? And for many of our students, that just doesn't exist, right? And so we are college bound. Point blank, period. I have parents who will come up to me and fight me tooth and nail on that. And that is okay, because I know what I believe. I was never told that I couldn't go to college or that there were these pathways. So what disservice, I would be doing a disservice if I then go to my students and say, hey, you know what? I chose college and it worked out great for me, but you do what you want to do, right? Without providing that choice that Aide was talking about. Again, we believe that every student, I am a social worker by trade, and so I truly, genuinely believe that every student, every person, right, has their own path, and we support that path, and we will not shame you for choosing something other than college. We will continue to support you, but it is the expectation that every student is applying to college. It is a graduation requirement, and that's just what it is, because we know you need the options, you need the choices. Everyone needs the choices and the options. And so I'm glad Aide spoke about choices because it's true. You want students to have that advocacy and that agency, but But we also know we would be doing them wrong if we have all the information and we know how it has changed lives for us, for our families, and we don't give them that same opportunity and that same option. And so I did state we have a college and career coach who does work with those students who may decide to do trade or a gap year or some type of work program or city or something like that. But our focus will always be college. While I'm here, it will be college. And we will do so without any kind of apologies.
Thank you both. I mean, such an important discussion. There's so much still to talk through, and I'm seeing us get close to our hour quickly here. Maybe we can hear just a bit, about how each of you and your schools are using data to identify which students, which campuses need additional support, and what that should look like. Aide, do you want to share briefly?
Oh, I mean, if you know Noble, you know we love data. And I will say, as somebody, my training is in anthropology. I both undergrad and master's and PhD in anthropology, so did a lot of qualitative work and just learned to love bridging the quantitative with the qualitative in my work at Noble, because this work has to be heavily informed by data. And in particular, I also want to add, in this world where we are committed to being an anti-racist organization, is more urgent than ever that we ground ourselves in data and high aspirations to reach equitable goals, because at the end of the day, results are about accountability. And I want to underscore that, because to your question, right, is that we have to be able to understand like what, and that doesn't mean data is destiny. And again, I give you my personal experience of having seen that flow chart and my refusal to accept that flow chart, right, as destiny for students of color, my refusal to accept that 12% of children from under-resourced communities have bachelors. Like, I want to underscore that, but if we understand that, right, we're able to tackle it and have a strategy to improve. So in the context of our schools, having 17 high schools, it is imperative for us to understand data, not as a way where we just see children as numbers, where we see even just like the outcomes of our schools, like without understanding the context, the story, but to really understand, like, this is where we're at, how will we move the needle? Because you can't reach equity if you're not grounded in data and if you're not grounded in results. Again, one of those key things that we just love talking about at Noble, and happy to dig in more, but want to be mindful of our time.
Candace?
I agree. I'll be short. We are student-centered, data-driven. That is in our college graduation mission. Data drives us day in and day out. We have a weekly data meeting as a team to go over the goals and expectations that we set for ourselves. Every member of our team has KPIs for the year that we check on a quarterly basis, because we know that to that accountability piece, if it doesn't get measured, it doesn't get done usually, and it doesn't exist. And so we take data very seriously, and we know that students are more than just what the numbers that we see. So to the qualitative piece, that is where the college counseling is so huge, where we can check in on the social emotional well-being of students and just kind of giving them a green, yellow, red on a weekly basis to kind of see where they are, because we know it's much more than just the FAFSA numbers and the matriculation numbers. They're going through things day in and day out outside of trying to apply to college. And so those are a few ways that we use data, and you can't do the work without it.
Really helpful. So for schools or districts who are looking to increase their support for students as far as planning for and through their post-secondary experiences and through college, if you guys can sort of help people think about, okay, you have a huge team that does this. I right now don't have the resources to do that. where do I start? What are the most, where are my priorities? What are resources that are available that you can are there outside organizations to look to that can help support this work in other places? Candace, you want to get us started?
Sure. So there are people out there who want to help. And so it's just finding those organizations and those people. IIAC, I became a member recently, and it's been great to be a part of their small interest groups and just throwing ideas around and getting to know other people doing this work. IIAC, if financial aid, when financial aid comes around, they offer, they bring in people to do financial aid workshops. And so during the spring semester, we have IIAC come in and do financial aid comparisons with our students. Organizations like One Goal, which I've already stated, are great thought partners. Even if financially it doesn't work to partner with them, there are great individuals within that organization. So really just finding the people who are doing the work. Community colleges are a great asset as well. They have professors and teachers who want to come in and support your work and what you're doing, and they want to know who your students are because they may want to recruit your students someday. And the same for four-year colleges as well. And so we had the University of Chicago come in and do a personal statement mock session with our students. And so that was free of charge. So they just came over, the admissions officer came over and walked through what a personal statement should look like for students. So just really thinking about the steps in the college application process, or just the work that you're doing and who else is doing that work, or who would students like, who do they listen to? And so those are some of the organizations that we utilize.
Yeah, I think all of them, as Candace shared, and we, even though we have a robust program, like we also are always looking for who can support us with mock sessions, who can support us, IIAC leading FAFSA sessions, whether it's for our students, for our families. So in addition to all these recommendations, I think it's imperative to partner with local community-based non-for-profit organizations as well, right? So for example, I'm thinking about Chicago Scholars that help students through the college application process, community-based organizations, Enlace, for example, in Little Village, organizations like Bottom Line. So there are, we're lucky to be in a city, at least in Chicago, right? And I'm sure this is true for your individual context, because there's also online partners that you can see, that you can look to if you don't have this, just like a whole slew of partnerships as we do here in Chicago. So I just think it's important to look around, what are the community-based organizations that are near you, and how to partner with them to best support students.
Such great suggestions. So I might go ahead and combine, with the time we have left here, a couple questions to hear from each of you as sort of our closing remarks here. The comprehensive supports that you both have discussed, incredible. We imagine that with any, important work and such vast work that you're all doing, that there can be some challenges or barriers along the way. And, if perhaps you could talk a bit about, some of the, key or main issues or challenges that you've faced, and particularly the strategies you've used to address those, and maybe combined with any sort of takeaways for those listening of one or two key strategies or steps that you found to be most effective or critical to this work. Candace, you want to start?
Yeah, so some of the challenge, I think a lot of the challenges are internal. Working with adults has been my hardest challenge. The students usually aren't the problem. It's really, it's generally getting the buy-in and the changing the mindset of the adults that are working in these spaces, and what their beliefs are and their values are, and how they see our students. And so I think that has been one of the biggest obstacles for me, is just how we talk about our students and about our communities, even within the same ethnicity or race. Just how we hold each other up has definitely been one of the hurdles, and what we believe our students can achieve. I don't really face any outside obstacles, because there's so many great people who believe in the work that we're doing and want to help our students out. And I think one of the biggest assets for us has been partnerships. And so we've been able to develop quite a few partnerships with colleges across the country, Whitman College, University of Denver, College of Worcester, to name a few, that partner with us on a yearly basis to interview our students. So they come prior to our students even applying and just make themselves known to students, and our students are able to interview for potential scholarships with those colleges. And then they work closely with us as our students are enrolled as college students to make sure that they're persisting and that they're graduating. And so it's finding the people who believe in the work that you're doing and believe that your students are more than capable. And knowing that you may have to pull some people along the way or let some people go, because it really has to be student-centered at the end of the day.
Great, so I'm gonna try to do this really quick. This is a loaded question and two-part question, but I'll say just like there's a lot of barriers. Happy to discuss some more if you want to reach out to me, but I would say we're in our current reality. Of course, we're like still navigating, global pandemic and the impact that has on the communities that we serve, that has on the children that we serve. Our matriculation, for example, like significantly decreased. So now we're trying to re-strategize. How do we support our 2021s, right? All the students that did not enroll in college to still have a pathway that can lead them to sustainable wages. And at the same time, what are the lessons that we're going to implement for our current seniors, our class of 2022? And what I would say that as key strategies to keep in mind is having clarity on vision and alignment. Like clarity on vision and alignment, and continuing to repeat that, and having a clear strategy and framework for how we're going to support students. And I think that like lives can be ruined if they're misguided. So we have to be very clear on why we're here and what impact we want to make and how we're going to support students achieve their aspirations. So with that, just thank you so much for having us here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you both to Aide and Candace for sharing your experiences and insights. If listeners do have questions or want to talk about these issues more, you guys are both so passionate and so knowledgeable, and I appreciate you being a resource, so people can absolutely reach out to you. If you have any legal questions, we didn't touch too much on legal issues today, but Amy and I are always here for you as well. And we know this is a process. We do want to hear from you. We love to hear from you guys with topic ideas about the work you're doing, what's going on. And I do encourage you to go back. We've got all of our educational equity webinars posted on our website. They're also on our podcast, which is Education Law Insights. And hope that you will join us again for our final webinar in December. And so thank you all for the work that you're doing and for being part of this. And I hope everyone has a great day.